They were not born for war, but war found them. A name etched on a duffel bag, a voice lost in static, a heartbeat beneath a steel deck. Some were sailors, some were pilots, some never made it past the shore. You will choose one, not to command them, but to remember them, to walk beside them through fire and silence and the long dark between explosions. This is not a game. It is a memory, waiting to be heard. This is the chosen few. So today we ask you to join us, aboard the SS Manaar. If you look on the screen you will see a list of crew members numbered 1 to 70. So pick a number or name and pop your chosen crew member in the comments below and see if you survive the sinking of the Manaar. September 1939. The world is on the brink of war. In the cold waters of the Western Approaches, a British merchant ship sets sail, carrying cargo, courage, and a crew whose names history nearly forgot. This is the story of the SS Manaar, a ship sunk by a U-boat, a crew scattered across the sea, and voices, letters, memories, rescued from silence. Aboard the SS Manaar, September 1939. Colin Fraser stood at the rail, the salt wind tugging at his collar as Liverpool faded into the haze. The Manaar was underway, her engines thudding rhythmically beneath his feet. It was his first deep-sea voyage, and the thrill of it pulsed through him like electricity. He was 17, fresh from Maritime College, and assigned as an apprentice under Chief Officer Merton, a man who barked orders like cannon fire but knew the sea like scripture. The first day was routine. The crew settled into their rhythms, firemen sweating in the boiler room, stewards fussing over galley supplies, and the officers charting their course toward Calcutta. The war had been declared just days earlier, but out here, it felt distant, like thunder on the horizon. On the second day, Colin shared a smoke with Elias Mukherjee, the second officer, who pointed out constellations as they leaned against the rail. "You'll learn to read the stars before you trust the compass," Elias said, his voice low and steady. Below deck, the Indian Lascars sang softly as they worked, their voices rising through the grates like incense. By the third day, tension crept in. Down in the cramped radio room, the low hum of static filled the air. James Lawton, better known as Sparks to the crew, the ship's wiry radio operator, leaned back in his chair, a cigarette dangling from his lips. Across from him, Stokes, the young engine hand, watched the ember glow. "You know," Sparks muttered, exhaling slowly, "they spotted a U-boat shadowing a freighter off Gibraltar last week. Slipped in close, just after dusk." Stokes shifted uneasily. "Think we're being watched?" "Could be," Sparks said, tapping ash into a tin mug. "Captains ordered full blackout after sunset. No smoking on deck. One glow's all it takes to give our position away." Stokes glanced at the cigarette. "Then why are you?" Sparks smirked. "Down here, lad. No stars, no sea. Just wires and whispers." The receiver crackled to life, cutting through the static like a knife. "All Allied vessels in grid square AM 52. Be advised. Enemy submarine activity confirmed. Repeat. U-boat sighted operating submerged and surfaced in the vicinity. Last known heading, northwest at slow speed." Sparks leaned in, adjusting the dials with practiced urgency. The voice continued, clipped and urgent. "Engaged merchant vessel at 0200 hours. One confirmed torpedo strike. Maintain blackout protocols. No deck lights. No smoking topside. Report any suspicious wake or periscope sighting immediately." The transmission ended with a burst of static. Sparks turned to Stokes, his cigarette now forgotten in the ashtray. "Well," he said grimly, "looks like we're not alone out here." Captain Fenwick stood at the chart table, the dim red glow of the bridge lamps casting sharp shadows across his weathered face. Sparks entered briskly, clutching his notepad. "Transmission just came through, sir. U-boat confirmed in our sector. Merchant hit at 0200 hours. Blackout protocols reinforced. No deck lights. No smoking topside." Fenwick didn't flinch. He stared at the map, then looked up at the helmsman. "Bring us 10 degrees starboard. I want us hugging the convoy's outer edge." He turned to the first mate. "Double the watch rotation. I want eyes on the water every minute. If anyone sees a wake, a shadow, a damn ripple, report it." Then, to Sparks, send a reply. "Acknowledge receipt. Inform them we're maintaining blackout and evasive course." And Sparks, no more chatter. "Keep the line clear." He stepped out onto the bridge wing, the wind tugging at his coat. The sea was calm, deceptively so. Somewhere out there, beneath the waves, danger waited. "Let's keep this ship invisible," he muttered. Below deck, the mood shifted like a cold wind through steel corridors. Word of the U-boat warning spread fast. In the mess, mugs of tea were left half-drunk as men leaned in, whispering. "They hit a freighter last night," someone muttered. "Same sector we're in now." On the deck, the blackout orders took hold. Sailors moved in near silence, covering portholes with canvas, taping over any glint of metal. The usual banter was gone, replaced by quiet nods and the occasional glance toward the dark horizon. In the engine room, Stokes wiped sweat from his brow. "Double watch," he said to the chief. "Means we're pulling nights now." The chief grunted. "Means we're staying alive." Up in the crow's nest, the lookout adjusted his binoculars, scanning the moonless sea. Every wave looked suspicious. Every shadow, a threat. And down in the radio room, Sparks sat with his headset on, listening to the silence between transmissions. The hum of the equipment was steady, but his pulse wasn't. The sea was slate grey, the sky low and heavy with mist. The Manaar ploughed through the swell, her engines steady, her decks slick with salt spray. It was just past 0700 hours when the lookout's voice cracked through the morning hush. "Submarine. Off the port bow, bearing 280. Captain Fenwick was on the bridge in seconds, binoculars raised. Through the haze, a dark shape breached the surface, a conning tower, unmistakable. A German U-boat. "Sound general quarters," he barked. "Get those guns manned." Below decks, the ship came alive. Boots thudded on steel. The gun crews, already drilled for this moment, raced to their stations. On the aft deck, able seaman Tomlinson and gunner's mate Singh swung the 4-inch naval gun into position. The forward gun crew scrambled to load shells, their hands slick with oil and adrenaline. "Range," Singh shouted. 2,000 yards and closing, came the reply from the bridge. The U-boat made no attempt to submerge. It was bold, surfaced and approaching fast. A warning shot cracked from its deck gun, the shell whistling past the Manaar's bow and exploding harmlessly in the sea. "They want us to stop," muttered Tomlinson. Captain Fenwick had no intention of surrendering. "Return fire," he ordered. "Aim wide. Let them know we're armed." The Manaar's forward gun barked, sending a shell across the U-boat's path. It splashed down just short, a plume of water rising like a signal flare. The U-boat hesitated. Then it began to turn, presenting a narrower profile. "Brace for incoming," Singh shouted. Another shell from the U-boat's deck gun slammed into the water off the starboard side. The Manaar's crew held their ground. The aft gun fired again, this time closer. On the bridge, Hargreaves watched the enemy through his binoculars. "They are testing us," he said quietly. "But we're not a soft target." The sea roared around them, the mist thickening. The next 5 minutes would decide everything. The U-boat didn't retreat. It turned broadside, exposing its deck gun. The crew aboard the Manaar knew what that meant. "Fire at will," Captain Fenwick ordered. The forward gun roared again, the shell arcing toward the submarine. It landed just short, sending a geyser of seawater over the U-boat's conning tower. The German crew scrambled, ducking behind the gun's shield. Then came the reply. A flash from the U-boat's deck gun, then a thunderous crack. The shell slammed into the Manaar's port side, just below the bridge. Steel buckled. Smoke poured from the impact site. A junior officer was thrown to the deck, still and motionless. "Damage control to the bridge," Fenwick shouted, steadying himself against the railing. On the aft deck, Singh and Tomlinson adjusted their aim. "Elevation 5 degrees, Singh called. "Lead her by 20 yards. Tomlinson nodded, sweat streaking his face. Firing. The shell left the barrel with a deafening blast. This time, it struck true, just aft of the U-boat's conning tower. A burst of flame and smoke erupted. The submarine rocked violently. "She's hit," someone yelled. But the U-boat wasn't done. Another shell screamed toward the Manaar, striking the forward deck near the gun crew. 2 men were thrown back, one not moving. The others dragged him to cover, shouting for the medic. "Keep firing," Singh bellowed. The Manaar's guns thundered again. The U-boat began to turn, smoke trailing from its damaged hull. It was trying to retreat, slipping back beneath the waves. "She's diving," Fenwick called. "Watch for periscope." The sea swallowed the submarine, leaving only a slick of oil and debris. Silence returned, broken only by the groan of the wounded and the hiss of steam from ruptured pipes. Steam hissed from broken pipes, scalding the air. Flames erupted from an electrical panel near the port bulkhead. Junior engineer Tomas Varela, just 22, was thrown across the room, his leg broken. Oiler George McKinnon tried to reach him, but was forced back by rising water and smoke. Chief Lofton, bleeding from a gash on his forehead, ordered the men to abandon the compartment. But the ladder to the upper deck was already slick with oil and water. The engine room was flooding fast. Within minutes, the water was waist-deep and rising. Fourth Engineer Ravi Singh was the first to reach the ladder, helping hoist Varela onto his back despite the broken leg. Behind him, McKinnon and fitter James Jimmy Rowe scrambled upward, coughing from smoke inhalation. Lofton stayed behind, trying to shut off the fuel lines to prevent a full firestorm. As the water surged, Lofton finally turned and made for the ladder. A wave of seawater, thick with debris, slammed into the base of the ladder just as he reached it. He climbed with everything he had, hands slipping, lungs burning. Behind him, the engine room was a maelstrom of fire, steam, and darkness. Not all made it out. The final casualty list would include 2 men trapped below, Oilam Kinnan, who went back for a missing crewmate and never returned, and Chief Lofton, whose body was later found near the base of the ladder, one hand still clutching a rung. The lifeboats drifted through the night, scattered across the heaving Atlantic. The SS Manaar had gone down fast, her stern swallowed by the sea, her bridge shattered by shellfire. The survivors clung to hope as tightly as they clung to the gunwales. Lifeboat 2, carrying wireless operator James Lawton, steward Ram Das, able seaman Yusuf Ali, and gunner's mate Singh, had taken on water through the night. Ram Das, pale and feverish, muttered in Hindi as Singh kept him warm with a borrowed coat. Lawton, his fingers numb, still clutched the Marconi logbook. Lifeboat 1, launched earlier, held Chief Cook Patel, Junior Engineer Thomas, and several greasers. They had salvaged a tin of hardtack and a flask of water. Patel led quiet prayers at dawn. At 6:30 on the morning of September 6, 1939, the Royal Navy sloop HMS Gadisha spotted debris and oil slicks. She had been dispatched after intercepting Manaar's final distress signal. Her crew scanned the horizon, and by 7:15, they sighted the first lifeboat. Motor launches were lowered. Survivors were hauled aboard, soaked and shivering. Singh helped Ram Das up the ladder, refusing aid until the steward was safe. Lawton collapsed on deck, the logbook still in hand. An hour later, HMS Sandwich, patrolling nearby, found the second lifeboat. Her crew pulled aboard Bimrao and Gopal, who had been clinging to wreckage for nearly 10 hours. She went down fast, Bimrao whispered. McCrae didn't make it. The survivors were transferred to Londonderry, where naval officers took statements. Captain Fenwick's name was spoken with reverence. He stayed on the bridge, Singh said. The final tally, that would be claimed by the sea in this sad tale, would total 9. So let's see if you were lucky enough to survive. On the screen are the crew men that were lost during the story. While this story is true, the names of the crew were fictitious. The names that now follow were the true heroes of this story, the real-life casualties. So please join me in a moment to remember these fallen heroes. See you soon for the next episode, and please like and subscribe, as we work our way through more World War II stories.